Want to welcome everybody back to the We Rush In podcast. Rare in-person interview today. Most of ours done over the internet, but I was lucky enough to have Chad Kennedy with C2C for PTSD. Happened to be traveling through Brandon today and was willing to come down and sit and have a chat with me. How are you doing today, Chad?
Doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Right on. We're happy to have you here. So we're starting our walk across Canada again this year. Tell us a little bit, I guess, just a quick blurb about yourself, and then tell us a little bit about C2C and what the plans are for this year.
Sure, man. I am a non-combat veteran, actually with a little bit of roots here in Brandon. I was out of Shiloh back in the day, and most recently the last... just hitting the 15-year mark with the Alberta Sheriff Highway Patrol. And like most of us, I have been kissed with post-traumatic stress. The C2C walk, kind of a funky story. My last major trauma was the Columbia Icefields bus crash, July 18th of 2020. By August 2nd, 2020... through self-medication, I made, the decision that I was to die by suicide. Had the plan, and fortunately, my good friend Captain Morgan persuaded me to walk the country to raise awareness of post-traumatic stress and mental health amongst our public safety personnel and military. So that irrational decision, August 2nd of 2020 turned into this walk across Canada, which it's actually been amazing. Not just about helping others, but part of my healing journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Let's say that based on the decision you were going to make. I'm really glad you ended up at this place. So the start all 2020. It's C2C. So did we start on the West Coast one year? Like, what's the...
Yeah, funny thing. The original plan was to kick off on the Lower Mainland. Unfortunately, when we were planning our step off for August 4th of 2022, Mother Nature decided to wash out a few of BC's highways. So
I remember that.
Yeah, so we had to, we didn't want to conquer or try and tackle construction, slowing things down. So we ended up kicking off in Cranbrook, BC, and made our way to Montreal last summer. And due to a medical emergency, we had to end things in Montreal. And this year we'll be doing Quebec City to St. John's, Newfoundland, right away here. Be in Quebec June 2nd. And then next year, the plan is to walk the island and a bunch of the Lower Mainland, or do a north-south route from Prince George downwards, and then head over to the island. So, yeah, some pieces are a little skewed, but we'll get it done.
But we're touching it.
Yes, we are.
Touching each ocean.
Yes.
And that's the goal.
Absolutely.
And how's the reception been across the country? Not just from the law enforcement or military side, but like just in general, the public and law enforcement and military. Like
it's been amazing with all the political stuff that had happened over the last year or so with COVID. And I'll be very open about this. 4 things C2C does not talk about is COVID, convoys, religion, or politics ever. But yeah, with all the stuff that was going on with the convoys and COVID, we thought, man, there's going to be a real political divide with our walk and everything that's going on. And really, you find the great side of humanity. Doesn't matter, what you believe in. Mental health affects us all, and everybody that we've come across, everybody we talk to knows somebody going through a mental health challenge, or is affected by mental health themselves. So the reception's been fantastic. And little plug for Brandon. And last year when we walked through, it was monsoon season. But great support from the Brandon City Police. And Project Resilience 911. So I will throw this out there, gang. When I come back through in August, I'll hook up time to meet with the Project Resilience team. Great peeps.
Yeah, I've worked with them. They're fantastic.
They are. So yes, I feel bad I didn't have the time to visit with y'all, but we'll see you again soon. Yeah, every community, really every community we've gone through is engaged in this walk. And we'd be in the middle of nowhere, Canada. Not just the middle of nowhere, Manitoba or Ontario. We'd just be walking along, a vehicle pull up on a side road, and out hops, a first responder or a veteran, whether it's for a hug, a 2-minute talk, a thank you, or they'll crunch out a kilometer or two with us. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good to see. I kind of like that your walk and a lot of these other walks and things along those lines, to me, it kind of brings out the humanity that we have in Canada or anywhere as people, right? I think it's very easy, like you said, to get caught up in all the political stuff, and you chose, we're not going to talk about this.
Right.
People need to realize that we are still just people. We're just people. We don't have to always get involved.
That's right.
In the controversy, we could just do something for the people, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We are, I think, and just, I'm just a guy with an opinion when we talk about certain topics and just opinions, and we're all entitled to opinions. But when we talk about our opinions, it creates divide.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible thing. If we were all just walking around naked with no uniform, no hat, no, I love your hat because it's a Canucks hat.
Yeah.
And don't hold that against us.
Yeah,
we won't
don't.
talk. We won't talk hockey politics. I'm a Canucks fan. So, but if we didn't have anything symbolizing what we support, we wouldn't know any different, and it wouldn't be, there's no judgment. So, yeah, that great side of humanity. Cool. Now, here's a cool story. Walking through Ontario last year, there was, we'll just call it an organized event by, people on the other side of the line. Were doing a motorcycle ride. I don't know where they were going, GTA area, I think.
Right.
But for that, the amount of people on motorcycles that went by us with the C2C truck, and the amount of thumbs up and, basically air fist bumps. And I'm like, wow, that is, being on this side of that line.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And you process stuff and say, it doesn't matter what patch you wear, what stripe you wear, what you do. Everybody is affected by mental health.
100%.
Yeah, whether you're a good guy or a bad guy. So you say, man, yeah, okay, we as people stand for different things in life. I know what I stand for. You know what they stand for, and yet there was no judgment. Thumbs up and slow down, and they were courteous. So yeah, it sort of opens your eyes and says, man, that's why I say if we all walked around without anything, it could be a blue shirt and blue jeans, we all just walk around the same, we wouldn't know what's on each other's mind.
Right. Yeah.
Just no judgment. We're just people.
Yeah. Just people living our lives.
That's right.
Right on. I guess this obviously was a personal journey.
Yes.
Have you had people reach out to say that that you've kind of, your journey has allowed them to begin their journey of healing, right? Sometimes it takes that one push, that one person that did something that gave them the inspiration. I know I messed up, and now I need to do something about it. Like, have you had any of those stories of people brought it to you? Because I know people might see that, but then not bring it to you, right? Like, they're not open enough to
Right.
to talk to you about it or reach out about it, or
Yeah, and I think that's every walk of life. I think we as a human race, for some reason, it's knocked into our head that you're not allowed to ask for help. That's a sign of weakness. I say it's the biggest show of strength to be able to put your hand out and say, "Man, I need help," or "Woman, I need help."
yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of messages and emails from people, and not just here in Canada. Like, I've had people from Europe send me messages of
Right.
encouragement and thank yous. Crazy. Like, every agency in Canada, somebody has contacted me. Families of those, and here's the really hard part: is you're meeting families who have lost a loved one to suicide because of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
And it's heart-wrenching, but the bond that I have with some of these families now is huge, and it's checking in on each other. There's three ladies, one whom I have not met yet. I'll meet her in St. John's, Newfoundland, and I call her mom. She lost her son to suicide. A woman in Regina, and another woman on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Like, it's heart-wrenching, and it's very
sure.
powerful. But to know, and we talked earlier, religious, no. That's not me. Spiritual, yes. And when I can remind myself, I've got three people who are no longer on this earth with us physically that are going to help keep me safe. And it sounds really weird, but and that comes through the loving conversations you have with these people who have lost somebody. But when it's usually that thing thrown out at me, and a request is, please just help prevent another family from going through the pain that we've gone through. So you hear that side, that's the extreme side, and then you get the really cool stories from people who say, "Hey, I followed your journey from the beginning, and I finally got up off the couch." I call it the depressive train, the comfy couch where I can lay down, eat potato chips and cheeseburgers, watch senseless television. But the people that get up off the couch and are getting out and being active, or have finally asked for help, there are some really great stories that just they make you feel good.
Yeah.
It's like when we're out doing our job and we're able to help somebody in a positive way, you feel good, and it sort of helps you find your purpose.
Yeah.
When you're doing something crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely no fame or making millions off walking the country, but the feel good stories, that's the reward, really.
100%. That's like we said earlier. If you could help that one person, even.
Yep.
If the whole thing ends up helping just one person, we're okay with that.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Mission accomplished. But
And yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of people get into either the military or first response. They want to help. Like, that was always the goal.
Yes.
Right. And sometimes you get caught up in everything else that you do in that job.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, sometimes you need something to remind you why you started in the first place.
Absolutely.
Right. So.
Yeah. And it in my case, wearing a uniform, it took a few years before, I realized that I'm allowed to be empathetic. I'm allowed to feel what somebody else is going through on the side of the highway when they're in a shitty situation, and I can comfort them.
Yeah.
and be a human being.
Yeah.
So yeah, and some of us may never get that. It's we're able to turn off our brains and yeah.
Yeah. I think that you're taught that kind of in training you're taught that in order to deal with the things you're going to see, that is the way to deal with it.
Yep.
When in reality, it's not. Right? Like you may have to be that way in the moment to get through that moment, but we have to learn how to become human again, almost.
Yes, and it goes back.
You could detach to get through the moment or to get through the situation. But you have to learn how to reattach and then reintegrate those feelings.
And
once you've
goes back to our conversation over breakfast, right? You allow a uniform to define who you are, which is not. Basically lets other people know that you're there to help. That's what a uniform is. It's not about you let that uniform define you. It's going to end up hurting you.
100%. Yeah. No, you have to find yourself. And I think that's another thing that training kind of fails us in is they basically strip you down to nothing to build you up to be this police officer or this firefighter or this whatever, right? And you lose yourself in there. And then you got to it takes a lot of guys, I think, several years to find themselves again.
Yes.
And some people I don't think ever do. Some people retire and that's all they ever were. And they've lost that. They've lost that piece of their identity.
We hear that from those who retire and they don't have a hobby. For example, so you retire, your whole life has been run on adrenaline, ups and downs, and you haven't really taken care of yourself while you're taking care of everybody else. And now you're that person sitting on the couch or in your lazy boy, smoking a pipe, feet up, watching sports or soap operas all day. And man, you hear so many stories of, well, so-and-so retired after 35 years. And then a year after they retire, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's like, how is that? What? It's, you read some studies, you read other things. Well, if they had a hobby, some people just give up. Well, my purpose is done.
Yeah.
I've done what I can do, and I'm just going to sit here and die. And it sounds sad, but they were a productive piece of society, and they just dwindled away.
And then they weren't. Yeah.
And then they weren't.
Yeah.
And we meet in my line of work. We get a lot of, we were getting retired members with 25, 30 years in one agency. They'd come over to the highway patrol.
Right.
And sure, it's, they're getting their pension. Now this is supplementary income, but it's like a hobby, and it keeps them in the uniform. They're part of that, and they'll work until they're 80.
Yeah,
if
they're allowed to,
yes.
they will, because they've decided to take what they used to do and turn it into a hobby almost.
That's right. Oh, I get paid to do this, and I don't have to deal with that anymore. It's like, man, get into woodworking, get into welding or something.
Yeah,
to keep you. I was going to say gaming, but I know if I got into gaming, I'd just become addicted and I'd never leave the house anyways. So.
Right. Yeah.
But, you get out to the shop, or for me, I found that going for walks, obviously.
You're kind of on a long one right now.
Yeah. But it starts with, it starts with training walks. I remember when I announced the walk August 2nd, 2020. 1 week later, August 9th, I was on that depressive train, just laying there watching TV on the couch. And I didn't have my man list to do around the house. So I just hopped up off the couch, went and got new sneakers, and went for my first walk.
Yeah.
And the first 3 days hurt like hell. But then, the fourth day, the pain was gone. All those muscles that we're not used to using are kicking back in.
Right.
And everywhere I walked, even though I had driven through my neighborhood 6 kajillion times, now that I'm walking, I start noticing everything I'd never noticed before. So that rush in life is gone.
Right.
And you hear that cheesy term a lot growing up, is just take time to stop and smell the flowers.
Right.
Well, if when you're at a walking pace, you get to observe all this really cool stuff. And it's become very therapeutic. If, like last week, straight up, the wildfires in Alberta
Right.
had blanketed, well, you guys are getting the smoke out here too.
Yeah.
The air quality was so bad, I haven't been able to get out to walk.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be breathing that stuff in. Mm-hmm. And especially at altitude that I was at. But like my body is going through withdrawals. Like I want to go for a walk. So hopefully wherever I end up tonight, the air quality is good and I
You
can
can
get
go
out
for a walk. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, a hobby that can be just getting out, admiring stuff. Take your camera, get some pictures. There's cool stuff to see, and that becomes a hobby. And that hobby could be 1 or 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
In your own neighborhood, you don't have to go to the forested trails.
Right.
Right.
You can walk anywhere.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. And there's health benefits to it.
Apparently,
and,
yes.
Well, mental and physical.
Yes.
Right. I mean,
Yep.
so I think we do need to sort of step off from that busyness of life, right?
That's right.
And sort of get out and appreciate
yeah, and
what's around you.
Start your hobbies now, so it just becomes routine by the time you retire. There's that
part of what you do.
Part of your day where this is, it's I just finally got back into doing some woodworking. Now obviously it's on hold until I get back.
Well, sure.
But that was something that post-traumatic stress had stripped from me, is the joy of my hobbies. So at Christmas time, I bought myself a laser engraver and I just started doing small projects. But it got me back into what I enjoy doing.
Right.
So it's, find something.
For sure. Yeah. I don't know. We've kind of touched everything we needed to touch. I'm just super, super thrilled and really honored that you took the time out of your day. I know you got places to be and things to do. You got to get ready for this big march.
Oh, yes.
I really want to thank you for coming on today. I appreciate it a lot, and I really appreciate what you do.
Oh, thanks,
and
brother.
what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you.
All right.
Right back at you. You guys doing these podcasts, boop, you're getting the word out.
And that's my goal. I want to get the word out. And it's not just, I don't know if you've listened to any of mine, but I kind of try to smatter. It always seems to lean towards PTSD, but I'm trying to smatter as much of everything that I can, whether it's training, wellness,
That's the best.
hobby, whatever, so I'm glad that we got to touch on a bunch of stuff today. So
cool. We'll do a follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime.
Maybe we could touch base after this March this year, and you can let me know how everything went.
Yeah, or contact me anytime along the way.
Right on. Yeah, no, we'll definitely get in touch.
Right on.
All right.